Hello chess fans and welcome to Chess5, and today we are going to talk about the game between Alireza Firouzja. Yep, this game is from the European Team Chess Championship 2021, and before starting the video I must tell that Alireza Firouzja recently broke the record of 2800 barrier and he became the youngest player to cross the 2800. Before Alireza Firouzja, Magnus Carlsen was the one to break the record of 2800 at the shortest age of 18 years 11 months. But Alireza is the new champion, yeah, and he became the world number 2 now, just right behind Magnus Carlsen. And yeah, it's a 2 years lockdown, but the Alireza Firouzja's level is just completely awesome. He played he gained rating rapidly, which is massive of 200 rating, from 28,600 to 2800. Wow. Such a big talent. So today we are going to see one of the best games played in the European Team Chess Championship 21, and check out what is so special in this player, why he plays this goddamn great chess. So we have Alireza Firouzja versus Victor Edos. Victor Edos is having the rating of 2615, definitely a very powerful grandmaster. So let's check. So this game is first of all from the third round of the European Team Chess Championship. It's a classical event. So we have Victor with the white pieces and Alireza with the black pieces. So let's check it out this game. So Victor with the white pieces started the game with 1 e4 and Alireza with the black pieces replied with c6. So we have the Caro-Kann on the board. Knight f3, d5, knight c3, and now we have bishop to g4, simply developing the bishop and pinning the knight. h3, trading of the piece, and now we have e6. So basically black eliminated his bishop for the knight, and the bishop on c8 is usually the bad piece. You can call it as the liability, but when he just traded off the knight, and now black is just perfect. We have e6, d4, knight f6, and now we have a pawn trade. At the place of a pawn trade, white should have played bishop d3, something like that, and keep this tension in the center. But he went for the pawn trade. Bishop d3, knight c6, and after playing knight c6, just look at the white pawn structure. One pawn is on d4, c2, and b2, which is not a great structure. Usually the pawn structure should be like this. You can just see the black pawn structure. It's perfect. So after playing knight c6, so white went for knight e2, h6, chopping this bishop g5 ideas, c3, and now white pawn structure is perfect. Bishop d6, bishop c2, rook c8. In this position, natural move looks like to castle in the position, but Alireza first played rook c8. It's also a fine move. Perhaps he's planning to play something like knight b4. You can't capture because the bishop is hanging. So white played g4. Okay, so white is already preparing to attack on the king's side. Now definitely castling in this position it looks like a bad move, bad idea. After playing g4, I want all of you to pause the video and try to find the move which Alireza Firouzja played. This move you can just take 10 tries, but yeah, finding this move is just nearly impossible. So yeah, just take a pause and try to find the move. Okay, so I think you must have found the move, but the chances are 1%, like less than 1%, because the move is king to d7. Just incredible. Yeah, well, like how to find this type of move in such a middle game, because middle game are the most important ones. And yeah, playing king g7 in the middle game, and you want to put your king on b8. You want to move your king 3 moves in the middle game, and yeah, every move matters a lot. So after king g7, white played g5. We have a pawn trade. King c7, long castle, king b8, and now look at the position. Black is perfect. Black moved his king twice, and yeah, now his king is perfect, and yeah, no problem. So after king to b8, we have rook to g1, and if at the place of king b8, if the king would have been on the center, I think black must have been completely losing, because white pieces are just on the king side now, and he's going to do a large amount of attack. So after playing rook to g1, we have g5. And on the move, when Alireza played king g7, you can already see that, yep, something is different about him. And now we have b5. On the spot, he made his king safe. He wants to open up his king by playing b5. a3, and now we have a5. Queen d3 hitting the pawn. We have queen b6 protecting the pawn. Bishop into f6, g into f6, and now we have rook g7. Trying to hit the pawn on f7. Black simply moved his queen back, defending the pawn and defending another pawn, and now the idea is to play b4 as well. White simply played rook g1, doubling the rooks. And if you try to go on for capturing, okay, you can't capture because the queen is protecting it. So we have b4 by black. After playing b4, now the position is going to open. White played a4, and now we have bishop to f8. Not going to open up the position directly, but keeping the tension in the center. And first going to play bishop f8, hitting the rook. Rook h7, and now we have bishop h6 check. Not going for a rook trade. Now the king is having two moves. He can either go for playing king d1 or he can go for king b1. White went for king d1. All those who are wondering why not to play king b1, I think White definitely can go for it, but Victor must have been scared of this queen, a powerful queen, and the king is in the row of the queen. That's why. We have king d1, and now we have f5 cutting off the connection between the queen and the rook. We have a rook trade, rook to g3, protecting the pawn, and yeah, some ideas could be to move the king on the queen side at some point after pawn trade. We have rook to c8, just now bringing all the pieces on the king side. We have king to e1. Now white wants to move his king on the king side from the queen side. Yep, so we have a pawn trade. We have knight to e7, king to f1, king a7, rook g1, and now here we have a couple of moves. First, a queen trade, bishop check, king goes back, bishop came forward, knight g8, and now we have some maneuvering of the pieces. First of all, if I talk about the position, white is having two weaknesses in the board. First, here we have the c3 weakness and the a3 weakness. Black is also having the f7 weakness, but currently in this position it's no, because the black is covering the square on the g7, which is not allowing rook to come on g7. Yeah, so black is currently better in the position. Knight g8, rook g3, knight f6, rook d3. And yeah, on the move number 35, rook d3, rook d3 was not a good move actually. At the place of playing rook d3, a much better move would have been h4. Yeah, just keeping this file. But on the moment white played rook to d3, black simply jumped with the knight, and now there could be some ideas for black to play rook g8 and enter in this file. We have rook to d1, and now black simply captured the pawn on c3. We have a knight trade. Bishop came forward to e8, going for the pawn on f7. And yeah, once black lost his f7 pawn, his pawns are going to fall on the spot. So black rook simply came back to c7 to defend the pawn. We have h4, king b7, rook b1 check, king c8, h5, bishop g7, king e2, king d8, rook b8 check, king e7, bishop b5, king f6. Going for the h pawn. We have king d3, king g5, rook a8, king into h5, rook into a5, king g4. Now going for the f2 pawn. Rook a6, king f3, rook c6. And here black cannot trade the rooks because now it's an equal position. In spite of being a 2 points down, white can hold this position because it's an opposite color bishop. So that's why we didn't have the rook trade, and we have the rook to b7 by black. And now we have rook to c2 by white, defending the pawn, which was not a right idea, which was not a nice idea. A much better move at the place of playing rook c2 would have been to play rook to d6, because after king into f2, rook d7, hitting the rook, hitting the pawn, black is forced to trade the rooks. And after trading the rooks, it's the opposite color bishop. In spite of being 2 points down, white is also having the pass pawn. And okay, black is slightly better, but mostly it's a draw if white plays right. So, but we have rook to c2, bishop f6, rook b2, bishop came back to d8, rook c2, bishop to a5, now stopping the a5 pawn. Now the pawn on a4 can no longer forward to a5. Rook c5, now we have bishop to e1, going for the pawn on Cf2. Bishop C6, hitting the rook. Rook came back to A7, hitting the pawn. Again, not hitting the pawn, but just putting some pressure. Rook B5, and now we have rook into A4. Rook into D5. So this was the idea of white. And after rook into D5, if you try to capture the rook, now after bishop into A4, it's an equal position. After, in spite of being king into F2, bishop to C6, and it's all over. It's a draw. That 5. First, black gave a check. And after rook a3 check, it's already on the move number 56. Victor Edos with the white pieces has signed the game, and Alireza Firouzja with the black pieces won the game. Definitely after rook a3 check, if you try to move the king, you lost the rook, and it's all over. Yep. So that was the reason Edos Victor resigned the game, and yep, Alireza Firouzja just won the game. So yep, we can just simply see his level of play. He actually makes no blunder at all, and on the moment his opponent makes a blunder, he just sees it and he just finishes the games on the spot. So first of all, this game was simply amazing. So if you also like this game, then make sure to like the video and share this video with as many as possible to check out this amazing performance played by Alireza Firouzja in the tournament. And if you are new to my channel, then make sure to subscribe the channel, because I regularly come like this to upload new videos like this, which helps many chess players to improve their chess level and skills. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Chess Vibes.